And away we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the third question and answers video for this channel. I just wanted to say I can't get over how every time I put up one of those videos that say, hey, you know, can you leave me your questions? I'm taking it down in 72 hours, blah, blah, blah. The response I get from it, you guys are awesome. And it always kind of like boggles my mind, and I'm like, man, I can't believe these guys really like the channel, and all that kind of stuff. Whatever. I just want to say how appreciative I am and how cool it is that you guys do this. You guys are the shit, and that's all I can say. Okay, without further ado, let's just get to the questions. I'm just going to do them in the order that they came in. So, starting from the first, working for the last, I'm just going to go right in order. I got my phone so I can sit here and just read them off. I don't really prepare anything that much. I like to keep it fresh and exciting and off the top of my head. So, anyway, here we go. John Simpson asks, how and where do you get all of your movie information? Well, that's kind of like a multi-answerable thing. That didn't make any sense now, did it? One, I always go to the International Movie Database. They have tons and tons and tons and tons of information on everything. Your directors, your actors, the characters, blah, blah, blah. That's a great place and a great resource to use. Number two, you always have Wikipedia, which, as long as you make sure that somebody who is a little bit wacky didn't throw that thing out there, a lot of good info out there, a lot of good stuff to be had. Three, I watch like ridiculous amounts of making of videos. Like, I can't tell you, I've probably seen Dangerous Days, which is the making of Blade Runner, probably as many times as I've seen Blade Runner, you know what I mean? I've just watched it over and over and over again because I'm fascinated with how films are constructed and made and all that kind of stuff. So I grab a lot of information from there, and I try to remember it, and it's just one of the things I love to do. My wife thinks I'm weird. I love those things. I can watch them over and over again. What are you going to do? One of the things I do a lot of times is I'll make like a little bit of a cheat sheet that just has the actor's name and the character's name. Because when I get up here, if I'm going to forget anything, it's going to be the character's name. You know, I'll sit there and I'll remember Charlie Sheen, but I might not remember Zane Zeminski. Or I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? It's really hard, especially when you're 8, 9 characters into the thing. I'll refer to that as like a little cheat sheet so I can remember it. And sometimes next to it, what I'll do is I will put down a fact about them that I didn't know. Like, I'm not going to put down, you know, I keep referencing Charlie Sheen because I just did one of his videos. I'm not going to sit down and put down, oh, he was in Men at Work, he was in Platoon, he was in Wall Street, because I can just do that off the top of my head. It's not a big thing. But there might be like TV shows that I forgot about or something like that. So I'll have his name, character's name, and then, like, you know, appeared on, you know, whatever, way back in the day or something like that, that I didn't know. That'll help me fresh it out. And before I go on my rant about all that kind of information, what I'll do is I might look at it in between cuts, because I don't like reading anything. I hate reading anything to anybody. So what I'll do is I'll look at it and I'll say, oh, okay, this actor was in that. There's the 3 things that I didn't know that I found out when I went hunting for a couple of old TV shows and maybe a thing or here or there. And I'll sit there and I'll say, okay. And then I'll hit the record, I'll start going, and I'll spit out all the knowledge I do know. And if you ever see me at the time, it's kind of a run or something like that, and I'm like, because I'm trying to remember what the hell I just read a moment ago about the oddball little odds and ends, like, oh, they were on Starsky and Hutch in '76, something like that. So that's basically the way it goes. Hope that answers it. Probably a long answer, I'm sorry. Okay, my man John Runyon says, who is your favorite movie producer? And he really likes Clint Eastwood and Deborah Hill. Those are 2 great choices. Deborah Hill, in and of herself, just for all the work she did with John Carpenter, I'm talking about, you know, whether it was Fog or Halloween, all that kind of shit. I mean, legendary. Legendary. And of course, Clint Eastwood. He's Clint Eastwood. And there's so many great producers out there. I mean, like Gail Ann Hurd just popped into my head because of like Terminator and Aliens and all the work she did with Cameron and stuff like that. There's so many producers out there that go back and forth from directors to producers. Like, how many times has Lucas produced something, or how many times has Spielberg produced something? But for me, my favorite producer of all times, and nobody comes close to the amount of stuff, whether he was credited or uncredited, the one that is the man to me will always be Roger Corman. Yes. Yes, this guy put out so much of the stuff I love, so much of the stuff I idolize. I don't care if it was Machine Gun Kelly way back in the day with Charles Bronson. I don't care if it was Death Race 2000. I don't care if it was the Little Shop of Horrors original. I don't give a damn if it was, Humanoids from the Deep. There's so many things that he did. It's over 400 movies that he was the producer of, that I can sit there at Big Bad Mama and just go right down the list. Piranha 2, I think it was too, and all those things, and just sit there and be like, oh my God, this guy's got the treasure trove of the schlocky shit that I really love and adore. So, for me, producer, Roger Corman. Okay, Casper37 I have a sort of general question about any memories you might have of watching bad movies on UHF channels in your local area, or drive-in experiences or grindhouse experiences like you did on a certain video. Okay. Back in the area that I grew up in, there was, I don't know, I hope I never told you guys this before, so I don't want to bore you if it's the second time now, but there was WXXA television. And it wasn't really a UHF thing, but it was a local channel thing. You know what I mean? It came into the area before we had Fox bought them out, because that's how Fox came onto our TV channels and became like Married with Children and The Simpsons and all that kind of shit. We had Fox 23, and it was before that WXXA 23. And it was a little local owned, little crazy little fucking station that I just absolutely adored. And I would turn it on Friday and Saturday nights, because I don't know how they got away with it. I don't know what the hell was going on. I don't know what FCC rules were being broken. I don't know, and I don't care. They would show movies on Friday and Saturday nights that were the shit of legend. I mean, the real bad B-movie stuff, completely unedited. I mean, there was nudity all over the place. I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing? How are they getting away with this shit? And it was always those movies like, Savage Beach, Malibu Beach, two hot-looking blondes with machine guns going out to stop a drug cartel, that kind of shit. They showed it all the time. I couldn't believe it. Then they got bought, and it became a corporate thing, and all that went away overnight. I don't know, maybe they got in trouble. I don't know what the hell took place. And it became Fox WXXA, and then we got Married with Children and all that kind of stuff. And hey, that was great too. I can't knock it. As far as grindhouse experiences at like drive-ins or movie theaters or something like that, most of that kind of stuff was just like when we went and seen a lot of the sword and sorcery type movies and the drive-ins. We would go see, Conan, and that's not really grindhouse, but then we would see like, the Sword and the Sorcerer afterwards, or we would see that kind of, the Sword and the Sorceress, or whatever whatever those kind of stuff were. There was like a lot of barbarian flicks floating around in the early 80s. And I remember seeing a lot of them in the drive-ins, so I can't really relate to any like real grindhouse stuff, because that really wasn't even happening that much up here at that time. That was mostly like cable and VHS is where you were going to get most of that kind of stuff, or HBO, or all that kind of Cinemax at night type shit. As far as the movie theaters around here, although we did have a porno theater around here, but I was too young to get in there. They closed that place anyway. But I'm just saying, that kind of stuff, there wasn't that much grindhouse around here in the area, sadly. And also, Casper37, yes, made the greatest observation ever. The theme music that I use as an intro into this television show was actually created on a thing called, and he spotted it right, the MTV Music Generator. That was like a PlayStation 1 semi-game, semi-loop station, semi-music maker that was actually incredibly in-depth and incredibly adept for what it was, especially at that time. If you're into making music or any that kind of stuff, there's all these kind of great loop programs, from Fruity Loops to Acid to all this other kind of stuff. And I had all that kind of stuff, and my son goes, hey, I have this music generator, and we're playing with it one night, and I said, this thing's amazing. And I'm like, this is great. And then I got wrapped up into it, and I literally, where that music came from, that you hear the show start out with, and it's literally like 5 minutes long, and you guys only hear like 8 seconds of it, was literally because I was watching the movie The Replacement Killers, and I said, I'm going to redo the soundtrack in my head. I looked at my son and I said, I'm going to redo the soundtrack to this. I'm going to make a song for every scene. And I spent like 2 weeks doing that. And I still use that stuff in videos and little intros and stuff like that. One other fun little note, I hope this isn't too boring, was that I also got into using it for Casper's knowledge. I don't know if anybody else cares about this. I hope you I also got into using like the acid and the Fruity Loops like I was talking about, and I made an entire album of me playing keyboards over like loops and weird ambient shit and all this other kind of stuff. And I recorded it, and I remember playing it for people. My sister was one of them, and she actually said to me, she goes, that's really great, but kind of dark. It's kind of dark, you know? And at the same time, the band I play in was so ramping up that we started releasing CDs with that, and that CD got shelved. So it's still floating around. Maybe someday I'll put it on the web. Who the hell knows? It's just me on keyboards with a bunch of other stuff and weird stuff going on. But, yep, you spotted it. MTV Music Generator. That was, when I read that comment, I was like, holy shit, nice. Okay, Bolzano Strangelove has a good group of questions. I'm going to tear right into these. I hope I do them all justice. Okay, what is the most artsy-fartsy movie you have ever seen, and thoughts on that movie? Probably a motion picture that I absolutely love, but it's out there. It's a movie called Run Lola Run. And I just think that this thing is just one of the best little flicks. I mean, it's all over the place. It's definitely an art house movie. It's definitely weird. There's animation in it. There's all kinds of shit taking place. And I don't want to, you guys can look up what the movie is about. I don't want to, pontificate for 4 hours on it. But it was an interesting movie. It was a thinking movie. It was presented in such an art house type of way. And if you ever get a chance, really just check it out. It's a movie about how a couple seconds difference of any moment in your life can change not only your life, but everybody's around you to a radical degree. I hate to say something like butterfly effecty, but before that and better. Okay, number 2, what are your thoughts on the new Dune movie that has sadly been delayed? You know, I don't know how they just can't get this right. I mean, it's such a legendary set of books, actually. The first one that came out when I was like, I don't know how old, with freaking Kyle MacLachlan and stuff, I don't know, I was like 12, 13, was it 82, somewhere in that ballpark? It just, I don't know what they were doing. I think they took too much out of it, and I just think the final product they gave us just felt a little bit disjointed. So I always waited for something better to come along. They actually did another version of it, I think William Hurt and stuff like that several years ago, which actually was pretty good. I actually enjoyed that. I think that was really cool. And the new one, I don't know whatever happened. I think it's kind of weird. I wish they would actually do one and go full bore, big budget, and just get the shit together on it. But I did keep dropping the ball. I don't even know what to say. Okay, Bolzano's third question. Have I seen the new Bill and Ted Face the Music movie? Sadly, no, I haven't. I've been meaning to. I've been wanting to. It's just one of those timing type things. I've been running around so crazy lately. My son just bought a house. I'm over there painting, doing all this other kind of stuff. I just haven't had a chance to check it out. But I want to. It's going to be fun to see how they merge back into that world being so many years later. You know what I mean? These guys aren't kids anymore. They're grown men in their 50s and everything. And seeing how they pull it off, I know you said you enjoyed it, so I'm sure it's going to be cool. I just got to get around to seeing it. But when I do, I'll drop a comment down below in one of the things or something and say, hey, yo, finally saw it. Something like that. But I've been meaning to. Okay, my favorite movie poster. Oh, this is great because my house looks like lobby cards. I kid you not. You know what I mean? If you go into my living room, you'll see, the Halloween on one wall, and then you'll see the Jaws poster on another wall, and the Terminator over on the other wall. So I got all kinds of that shit floating around, and I love that kind of stuff. But my favorite one, I don't know why I don't own it. I just haven't bought it yet, and I don't know if there's something wrong with me, because it's my favorite movie poster of all times, bar none. And that is literally Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Just the way it says it, Close Encounters of the Third Kind with the starry sky and that road that disappears into nowhere. When I was a kid, before I got a chance to go see that motion picture, I would literally sit there and look at that in the newspapers, right? Where we just get the little clip back, we have newspaper days, and then just a little clipping, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta see this. And I was transfixed with that photograph. So I always thought that was the king and be all and end all of all movie posters. I don't know why I don't own it yet. Something wrong with me. Okay, my least favorite movie poster. Oh, man, I don't know. There's been a lot of trashy ones out there. Usually those are the ones I kind of dig. But, I don't know. I can't really think of one. I think it's because your mind always kind of blocks out the bad and tries to remember the good. You know what I mean? So I can't really think of one that I really don't like offhand. Maybe anything to do with the Disney Star Wars movies? Yeah, but that would be it. That's only because don't get me going. And finally, my favorite Stuart Gordon film. I know this is going to sound really weird, but as much as I loved, like From Beyond, Reanimator, all that kind of stuff, I really liked his cheeseball flicks. Like, I loved, Robot Jocks, and I really, really liked Fortress with Christopher Lambert. And I'm like, I don't know why, but those are, oh man, it would have to be one of those too. And I think it might be Fortress. I know that sounds almost sacrilegious to say over some of the other shit I just mentioned, but I think that one might be it. I don't know why. It was just corny and cheesy enough for me to enjoy, and I don't know, maybe seeing the Highlander himself run amok and do shit. I don't know, but that was always my favorite one of his flicks. I can't justify it. And by the way, all that stop animation stuff that you were telling me about in the comment section is kick-ass. Please don't stop doing it. Go out there and just keep, you got a knack for it, so you might as well keep enjoying it. Just saying. Okay, I got a few from Happa817, so let's kick this into gear. Your thoughts on a Bionic Man movie? I've heard rumors before, but nothing ever came of it. I don't know why. I mean, I've heard the rumors about it too. Things get talked about, whatever, but nothing ever came to fruition. And you would think, with the subject matter, it would be like a no-brainer. Maybe they thought that they treaded too much into that by almost RoboCopping. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he kind of jumped into his thunder, guy, secret agent, but half man, half machine. But maybe they feel that people just wouldn't get it. But if there was ever a time when you could do shit like that, with all the stuff they can do in motion pictures now, I mean, come on, it would just kind of be easy and be a no-brainer, wouldn't it? But still in my heart, I remember being a kid and running down the street with our friends for some reason, doing that, doing the theme and then all that kind of shit. We used to do it all the time. Kind of felt stupid running in slow motion thinking we were quick, but it was a part of the past. It was great. It's been long enough where it's, literally long enough, like 45 years, to where you're like, okay, if they want to touch that again, why not? Make a big screen adaptation of it. Why not? Go ahead. It's not like you're remaking fucking Jaws or Gone with the Wind or something. So give it a shot. But hey, no idea why. Okay, the next one from Happa was, will I start reviewing movies from the 2000s? That's a tricky subject for me. One, my real love is the movies that came before the 2000s, maybe because I just had way more time to pay attention. I still go to the movies. I still check things out. I still enjoy stuff. But my heart will always be like, from the 2000 mark kind of backwards. And also on a personal note, and I don't want to put any negativity into anything, but I am not one of those people that really digs Hollywood that much. I never really have in any kind of way, shape, or form. But now, like over the last 10, 15, 20 years, I think there's a lot of people with, delusional egos in that town and a lot of crazed self-righteousness going on. And I think that, they're best left these days just to go into the 12 award shows a year they have for themselves and, doing whatever the hell they want to talk about or whatever like that. I just don't like the world that they've kind of become. It's just gotten too much. Sometimes I think it is because they feel that there's a fear of reality stars, because you can be on The Bachelor now and you're on People Magazine next week and all that kind of stuff. So maybe they felt like they had to go even crazier and be like, oh my God, we're even more egocentric and we're even more preachy, or so. I don't know. But I just don't dig the Hollywood vibe that much, especially over the last decade or so. I just, I'm like, you guys are all so full of yourselves, you can piss off. But it's just what it is. So I kind of leave that alone, and I stick to the olden days when people were a little bit more normal. Happa's next, Russ Meyer. Would I ever review any of his motion pictures? I really thought about it, because how can you not love, Faster Pussycat Kill, and all that, and Up, and all those great Russ Meyer flicks. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm sure at some point I will. It's sometimes tough with Russ Meyer movies because there's almost no point to them, really, other than just, well-endowed women running around topless through the whole things. So it's like when you get into the story part, what do you even talk about? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, nudity. But, yeah, I love this stuff. I mean, come on, how can you not? It's one of those things. They're there. They'll always be there. They're fun as shit to watch. Love them like the next guy. Review them at some point, sooner or later. My favorite movie, food, beyond popcorn, 110%. Without any shadow of a doubt. M&M's. I have a severe addiction to M&M's, which I'm allergic to chocolate, and it's not the best thing in the world for me, but I love M&M's. Everybody buys them for me. They give them for, I'm a chocoholic in the worst way. It's just goddamn ridiculous. And oddly enough, I'm a Tic Tac fanatic too. The orange packs, I don't know why. I usually eat one or two of those things a day. I don't mean the Tic Tacs, I mean like a pack. I think it's just because it keeps me picking out on food. You know what I mean? So I don't blown up or whatever. I don't know. But M&M's number one, Tic Tacs number two. And finally, the last one from Happa, and this is an awesome little question. In their primes, who do I think would win a fist fight? The almighty Bronson. The amazing Eastwood. Honestly, I would go with Bronson. Listen, I love Clint Eastwood. I'm a huge Clint Eastwood fan. But I think Clint Eastwood, outside of his movie image, is a much more softer, quieter, introspective, calm kind of guy. Everybody who's ever been on any kind of documentary about him says he's just mellow. He never loses his temper. He's really quiet. He's really cool. I even got that Sandra Locke book, The Good, the Bad, and the Very, Very Ugly, or whatever the hell it was. And even she said she couldn't even lure the guy into an argument. He was always very calm, always very mellow, and all that kind of stuff. So although he's a big guy, I just think Bronson was one of those guys who came up a rough way, a gruff way, and he had that about his personality where, like, you never hear people say, oh, I thought Clint Eastwood was going to punch me in the face. But you do hear people say, yeah, I backed off of Charlie. You know what I mean? He came across, that kind of thing. So, even though he's a lot smaller, it's the fight and the dog. You know what I'm talking about? That's all there is to it. Bronson. Okay, Subway Switch wants to know my favorite introduction to a character in the cast section. If you mean like one of my introductions to one of my people, I don't pay any attention to the thing I say. I just spit it out and I move along. You made the comment that you loved the one on Billy D. Williams or something like that, and thanks. But I don't really think about what's coming out. I don't even remember what I've said about any of these guys when I'm spitting it out. Actually, just when it comes to the cast being introduced in a movie, whew, man, I really, 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 really have two that jump out at me. One was at the end of the movie Strange Days, as the credits are going up and they're doing all these freeze frames of the motion picture, and it's just like dramatic scenes from the movie, and it's like overcoated in red or green or blue or whatever the hell was going on. I loved that as the titles were going up. I thought it was one of the best ending credit scenes I'd ever seen in my life. And number two, the Cannonball Run movies. Oh my God, especially the first one. This is well before they even did like Grumpy Old Men, where you'd seen the outtakes at the end. But they had the outtakes at the end of the original Cannonball Run. And I remember we would all just sit there, even when it was on cable or HBO or whatever, and you would watch all the credits just because it would just crack you up. You know, Burt Reynolds slapping Dom DeLuise in the head, and, you know, Dean Martin and fucking Sammy Davis Jr. fucking going. It's just funniest shit ever. And it was so cool because a lot of these guys were either the heavy hitters of their time, like Burt Reynolds definitely was. Dom DeLuise was funnier than shit. Or they were the guys that were the golden era of Hollywood that were like kind of having fun with themselves. Again, Sammy Davis Jr., again, Dean Martin, again, Roger Moore, all those guys, and they were just like laughing it up behind the scenes. And you can see like this is just a part of them. They know the movie is kind of stupid. They know the whole premise is ridiculous. They know they're just being movie actors in this where it's not like about your craft and all that kind of stuff. They're just there to entertain and give somebody 90 minutes out their door and have a good time, which is all you really want anyway. And they were having fun doing it, and they let you in on it. So that was like the best shit ever. I thought. I still think to this day. Okay, before I came up here, my wife and my son actually had questions they wanted me to answer too. So I'm going to hit them really quick before I let everybody go, or if you're still here and watching this thing. Anyway, here we go. My wife wanted to know, why do I love motion pictures so much? She goes, most people really like movies, but you really, 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 really love movies. And I think that has to go back to when I was a kid, right? Movies were the great escape, the great entertainer. I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. And my mother worked nights, so my grandmother was a very old school Italian lady. And she was one of those, you speak when you're spoken to, you should be seen and not heard, don't make any noise, do your thing, and that's it. So most of my time was spent either listening to my mother's record collection with the cans on my head, right? Or watching movies on Saturdays when she would. This is back in the days when there was only one TV in a house, kids, and it was a whole different world. You had the one television set, and on Saturdays, during the mornings, she would go off to do her thing, her chores thing, whether it was laundry or whatever, cleaning or whatever she was doing around the house. And that was my time to have the television set. And when I had it, I would just look into all these channels out of Boston and New York and Manhattan, and they had the best shit ever. All those low-budget cornball flicks that cable could only afford way back in the day. And I would just sit there entertained, and it's like, oh my God, oh my God, Boggy Creek, oh my God, Track of the Moon Beast, oh my God, Gargoyles, And that was, I just fell in love with it. It was the great escape. It was the storytelling, and I love the technical side of making motion pictures. I love it. I love to find out, how did the director do this, and why did he use that lens, and where was the sound guys, and how does the whole gaffing crew work, and whatever the hell they're doing. And sound design was always big because I was always a musician first and all that kind of stuff. And seeing, this is how they did that, and this is, they got the people walking in the sandbox with the sound, the mics on their feet, and how they layered it, and oh my God, it's great. So, all those little different angles, and the fact that also I used to go to the movies a lot because they were near my house. So, hey, I guess that answers it, I hope. And my son sent me a message. He goes, if there was any one film or film franchise you could wipe away the bad sequels from, and in order to see the original movies not tarnished, what would it be? There's two. I don't think they tarnished the originals, but man, I wish they just didn't do it. One was the Highlander flicks. I mean, I love the first one so much, and the second one was a fucking train wreck. There was a couple of the sequels that were okay, but I just thought the first one was so perfect, just let it go. It was so weird, so odd, so irreverent. Just let it go, let it be that, and let it be happy. The second one was the Jaws sequels. I don't know what they were thinking. The second one wasn't that bad. It was watchable. The third one was just watchable because it was a train wreck and you were entertained at the horrible fucking 3D shit in it and all that kind of stuff. The fourth one is just an abomination in the eyes of God. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. It was the worst thing ever made. But yeah, that. And I didn't like the Halloween sequels either. Halloween should have been the masterpiece it was. Let it go. You don't need to keep jumping back into the pond, folks. Let it go. Finally, his follow-up was, what's your favorite comedy of all times? Oh my God, that's so hard because there's so many different styles of comedy and kinds of comedy, from something like Airplane to something like History of the World Part 1 and Blazing Saddles and all that kind of shit. But if there's one that I might have to lean on and it keeps popping into my head as soon as the question came up, has to be Used Cars with Kurt Russell and fucking that whole Whack Pack. That movie to this day, I can watch it and I will laugh my ass off. No matter how many times I've seen it, and I've probably seen it at least 20, 25 times, I will still die laughing. I can't get over the delivery and just the littlest things. The littlest things, like when, they're walking into a thing and they just throw their garbage on the ground, like they just don't give a fuck. I just think that motion picture was the pinnacle of fucking awesomeness. Okay, everybody, that brings us to an end. I have no idea how long this thing has been rambling on for. I'm going to try to cut it up, keep it a little bit shorter when I get down there and make it something more entertaining. But anyway, thank you all for the questions. Oh my God, leave comments below because I love hearing about this stuff. You know, some of you guys answer the questions that were asked to me back and forth with each other. It's great to see everybody talking. It's great to hear all the different stories that you guys have. That's what really makes this fun. And it's just the shit. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm rambling too long. Be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Help a friend. Look out for a neighbor. Be kind to a stranger. And above all else, under no circumstances, no matter what the cost, take any bullshit from anybody. Be good. See you soon. And thanks again.